All right, get started. All right, so welcome everybody that's going to be seeing this. My name is Miles, and we got Keon here with us also. And today we have our Persuasive Podcast, and our topic is Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. So basically, for our podcast, we just wanted to elaborate a little bit more off of our class discussion and get a little bit more in depth with Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and maybe their views and how it relate back to some of the other views we had this semester. Um, So another thing, I want to introduce my friends. This is my friend Manny, friend Sid, girlfriend Jasmine, and they're gladly here, willing to take part in this because they was trying to find some people. But anyway, so who wants to start first question? You want to start with your first question, or does it really matter?
Um, doesn't really matter.
All right.
My question is it's kind of intense, I guess, a little bit. So we might
And,
start a little lighter.
all right. All right. So my first question is: in what ways do you see Malcolm X and Dr. King's views being executed in today's time?
Mm.
So you gotta think Malcolm X was more radical. If they say like violent white because how he view things, and Dr. King was more of a religious, more
Yeah, because Malcolm X, when he went to Africa, he was actually really like militant. Like for some reason he was Muslim. He saw Muslim as like, oh, he, if they cut off my toe, cut off like that. So I was like, man, I seen like the riots, like after the police shootings, riots, they started going off. They were like, Malcolm X used to do this, and all the riots, and like all that, they went back to those. So I feel like that represents today. And Malcolm X, like, they really say, yeah, we do this. Malcolm X did it. Like, even though that's not really everything he like stood for, but I see that. And on the Martin Luther King side, definitely see with the always like try to be peaceful. Sometimes it gets out of control.
Mhm.
But most of our like for race, black people, every time we have a protest, it's like
Mhm.
9 times out of 10. I feel like Martin Luther King.
It's like you want to
started
follow MLK, but then you have some people that are kind of like
They have a different idea.
that have a different idea of how we should carry out.
It's
Yeah,
funny
different
how because our teacher after our presentation, she told us she like everybody. We had a video, matter of fact. It's everybody has a little bit of MLK and Malcolm X in them because you have your peaceful ways, but then it gets you to that point where it's like, all right, being peaceful is not the answer, obviously, because they keep doing what they're doing. So violence is the next option.
We see it kind of like in a sense of like, an example is like when like your parents or a teacher tells you to like talk to them, or to, like talk to like the principal or something first before like you take any action of your own. But then you just kind of settle with the person.
Mm-hmm.
It's like not gonna work. Yeah,
Sometimes
we're kind of like going
right.
because like Malcolm especially, like some people today, like you hear a lot of people like they say they can't. They think like they don't think we can really live with white people. Some people they don't want to live with white people. Like I don't know how y'all were. But yeah, he purposely moved from just because like what happened in the past. He purposely moved to like a black area because he didn't grow up in that. So like it's like the gentrification and everything. I feel like that's partly Malcolm X too. One of his philosophies was like he didn't really incorporate into society.
My dad was because he made me go to Riverwood to get the diversity, so I could be around and actually see it.
Understand it.
I've been around only that my whole life, so
Yeah, I've only
he wanted me to experience something else.
only time I ever was around like white people was usually in sports. That's about it. But school's 99% black. Like
Yeah.
See, yeah, no, I grew up after school. I was so,
Yeah.
that's all I knew.
yeah, so I feel like that's
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. I know. I think if you remember Miles and one of the slides we had with like what made them like their upbringings made them think a certain way, like how they were brought up, and like we were saying like how Malcolm X had like a hard childhood. He was an orphan,
Yeah.
he was poor and all that, and then
Yeah.
Dr. King, he kind of had like a functional family. And
Mhm.
he might have dealt with racism, but it wasn't like the same way that Malcolm X probably dealt with it. So
When he
Yeah,
experienced
like we mentioned in the book, it's the triggers. You know what I'm saying? That they
yeah,
have. everybody has certain triggers that pushes them to that point, and everybody reacts differently. Like I said, Dr. King was just being peaceful, and Malcolm X's was obviously being the more violent one because of what he had previously went through, those triggers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
His father died and his mother moved constantly due to tension and stuff like that. So that plays an effect on them majorly.
Yeah, I felt like he was going for more of a revolution than King was going for more of a, okay, we're gonna incorporate the black people
Yeah.
equal. Malcolm was, no, I want a revolution, black people here, white people here.
And then also remember, like, you know, Malcolm X became Malcolm X while he was in prison. So
yeah,
he had to go to prison to actually transform into how, you know, him becoming Malcolm X versus Dr. King. He was pretty much like that his whole life. He was raised into that. Basically.
His family, what I read in one of the articles we had, matter of fact, the article that we had for the discussion is basically saying like how he was middle class, he had money, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't like he had to really struggle for much, and like I said, he grew up in the best known churches in Atlanta.
yeah.
I mean, he went to
At 16. He was 16 when he went to Morehouse.
Also, so it's just like all that was kind of like he was set up for it in a sense, you know what I'm saying? Because like he went through all that. Like I said, Malcolm X, he just went through a lot more trauma.
Right.
You know, he was a pastor too. So
yeah,
more biblical, more more like he, you know what I'm saying? That
God
is part of religion. Yeah, it really does. I mean, it's just more like more lighthearted, you know.
Because he was
forgiving, more forgiving.
I think that he just kind of accepted like integration as like a process. Like like okay, black folks aren't gonna automatically
it's gonna be steps
everywhere. It's just, but if I can just make an inch forward, like move an inch forward, that's all I need. Because that means moving right here.
That means in the future they can take another step like we're doing right
now. Like we're doing right now, basically.
All right, Keon. So you want to go on with your question, bro?
Yeah. Well, I guess your question kind of helped lead them into mine. So based on your personality, do you identify more with Malcolm X, Dr. King when it comes to their philosophy?
Okay. Y'all want
okay. Well, can y'all explain the phone? Just give us a
like you said, Dr. King is the more peaceful, non-violent side. You know what I'm saying?
So like your own personality, like do you see yourself more in Malcolm X or Dr. King based on like your personality?
I say definitely Dr. King, because I feel like we've seen through history a lot of revolutions took place violently, but it always led to a lot of turmoil after.
I see the reality and the way our lives are used. No, I'm Dr. King.
So I feel like an uprising violently, it's always gonna.
I say
it's always gonna be eye for eye for eye. How many eyes you feel like this is like.
For me, it's like I try to practice philosophy and ideology, but I have a short fuse sometimes. So when I get an email, I just don't want to talk about it. I'd rather just work the action and get it over. You know what I'm saying? But that's just me. But I try to practice following MLK's footsteps. You know, I try to put them in practice. But I'm more MLK. I don't like anybody and stuff like that, but sometimes I just revert to the other side for a second.
I'm more Dr. King, definitely. Mentally, I'm not gonna take the Malcolm route too much. And it'd be other people's personal property sometimes, like at their own expense, due to my actions, got messed up. Like during the riots, all the stores, they got messed up, and they probably were, pro-black, Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, I would say I'm not as extreme. I wouldn't go to that extreme of Malcolm X. I wouldn't do that.
And I feel like society has changed. I don't feel like you should have to revert back to that. Like back in the past, we could do that, but now I feel like we are too matured, but we've hit a level where that's not as necessary.
I mean,
Well, sometimes we're trying to force it. We're trying to force it. It's not our choice.
Well, the way you know about it is not necessary. The fact that we don't target the right, like the fact that we were just targeting, like during the protest, everybody was targeting stores and stuff, and it's like you don't even know their affiliation yet. Versus actually, we knew where certain people were. Like now in January, when those rioters, what they call them, Victory Boys.
you talking about the one that started Capitol?
Yeah, but see, they went directly to the stores, and they were able to do that. So I feel like the way the government uses it, it's not the point in us doing it.
So with that example you said right there, would you say that with their approach right there was more Malcolm X than Dr. King?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. The fact they went to the stores. They didn't like I don't want to say beat around the bush. They wanted to get answers and they got answers.
But I wouldn't even say
They didn't really
I don't even know. I don't even want to put that in Malcolm X's like.
Well, they got the attention.
The riots weren't really. Some people were just going to the riots just to, like they were just
there.
like they were.
Yeah,
They
But then
like,
some people like some people's initial intent though, like people cross states. Like some people, I really believe in this. I do feel like they cross states, got on the trains, we did this all in secret.
Yeah, because one thing I want to say as far as with Malcolm X and Dr. King, because he talked about it in class, is like the misconceptions that like was placed on them. So like Malcolm X always had like a stigma of like being like radical, like extra aggressive, or like his famous quote is like by any means necessary. And really what that meant was like basically defending yourself by any means necessary. Like it didn't necessarily mean like
they use something to use and like you kind of like retaliate against that.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you're the aggressor. It just means like.
But see, you can't do that now.
Was a misconception on him too, like, cause like
it's like
year before he died, he kind of switched up a little bit. Like, then he go like to Africa, and he like switched up, kind of.
Yeah, he left the
country.
He died.
Like he weren't really like. I feel like he's like looked at now, like people are like, oh, Malcolm X, but before like he switched from that non-violent, they were like, we don't really like that no more. They weren't really messing with him anymore after that.
Well, adding on to your point of him traveling, because doing the research for our project, he actually like that whole time he was there, he actually like changed his so like all races in general. Because before that, he was like very much so like black people support your own, buy your own, all that. But then once he went there and he saw all different races, then he kind of like, okay, well, everybody can help as long as they're good people. So when he came back over to America, his mindset changed. It was kind of more to
Dr. King,
anybody that wants to help, they can help us. So that was his whole thing. So
that's why I feel like I was like, with the riots, I'm like, that's not really like he used violence really to make a point sometimes, but deep down his philosophy was like, this is the better for us, not just to like riot.
During the riots, we was kind of self-destructing. We wasn't defending ourselves. We started like vandalizing black people's own businesses in Atlanta. Like the whole strip was black owned and they destroyed the whole thing. And we were kind of self-destructing and not really defending. We were like
because some of the people weren't out there to actually protest. Some of them out there were planning. Like I remember one spot, like it was exclusive shoot spot in Atlanta. And I'm like, this is nowhere near what's going on, the action stuff like that. So people drove all the way out there and tried to rob it, but luckily they got like the shatterproof glass and stuff like that. So they could and those like some people were just out there for their own self instead of come up off of the riot versus some people were just actually riding to get like
therefore I was like, well, don't try to
like what's the name when they went and stormed Target, wasn't it? It was like mentioning that Target was pro-black and stuff like that.
It was a whole bunch of white folks there.
You know what I'm saying? But it was a lot of white people there, and it was just like those people were out there more than us. But I mean, I don't know.
And then I feel like people were taking unnecessary rage. Like I feel like back in the past when it used to be, look, black person and white people would just go attack him. I feel like some people were just doing that. Like the reverse is not good either.
Let me true. So what are you speaking on? Like like people who were protesting.
Well, not the people who were protesting. Like people were actually going out protesting. Like, because I remember when I was in Atlanta during the times, like I was right near a highway where it was like protesting. They were actually doing things. I was like, okay, that's actually protesting. Before, when the riots, sometimes it was just people running out there. They would take over the riot. Like there would be, I mean, not the riot, the protest. Like there would be a protest going on, and they take over the protest. And the protesters are like, we're not trying to do this. And then the other half of people are like, no, we're gonna riot and destroy stuff. They want to kill us. And it's like,
Well, I mean, but that's also the fluctuation of like multiple protests. Like before that, like for them to get to that point, they were getting shut down. And with that concept, like we see it in school, they sit here and tell us to go to the little council, like student council, or go against the board. And like I actually know people on the board, and they're like, yeah, they're not gonna listen. You know, basically, I'm just gonna listen to show and know like no actions are being done in my favor. I think I would just shut it down and I gotta get it restarted back up in the morning, start walking again, move to a different location. But it's supposed to be public land. We're supposed to be able to walk on the sidewalk every time we want to. You know, so then that comes into play. I can see why like progression, all I'm trying to do is walk. The simple of just 2 feet, move my feet, and now I can do it. Why? Because other people don't like seeing me walking because of my purpose for walking. So you gonna get mad, you gonna want to smash something. But it's not do it. But I understand why they do it though.
But it's like, don't say like, oh, well, Malcolm X said,
And
then forcefully put your hands on an officer and you done messed up, because that's not defense at that point. Now you're provoking. MP, a lot of people did do that. A lot of people
really do feel that like we used to
it's not
privileged people all the time. We feel that hurt that pain in another part, like another
right, but it's not
person
good if they end up shooting you too because you decide to put your hands on them.
So,
but don't sit there and say that that's Malcolm X. That's not what, that's not exactly what he said.
Yeah. I do want to say that Dr. King had a quote also. We talked about in class where riots are like they're like the actions of the unheard.
Yeah.
Like riots. Yeah. So like riots are just people who voices have been ignored, and that's the only way to express themselves.
You're saying that it's like a last resort. Like basically, that's the last thing to resort to because, like, all right, we're not being heard. So what other way can we get their attention? You know what
and
I'm
then
saying?
especially when you also on the other hand, when you see other riots going on, unrelated to the issue but as like important to that person, and they're getting the action, and they don't even have that many people going for their protest. Versus when you have like people across states doing the exact same thing, you don't see nothing happen.
Yeah, like what's the name? The Gay Pride. I remember in Atlanta, they had the protests and all that stuff down there. After that, they had painted what is like Midtown. They got like rainbow crosswalks. It's like, I mean, they got to start getting treated a little bit better. Like that whole area in Atlanta is like really known for like that community, but that's everybody has accepted that area as that community. You know what I'm saying? So it's like when you go to Midtown, don't be like not really shocked when they see somebody there walking or you know what I'm saying, certain places because like that's what that area is known for. You know what I'm saying?
Or even like Asian Lives Matter, somebody like on social media controversy because a lot of people see that as more people. Comparing the amount of like Asians that have died, black people.
Well, it was the fact that how fast it happened for them to pass something going against Asian hate, but it's like we've been here for this long, and we've been trying to follow the not following the mountain. It's still like we still feel like we're stuck because nothing has been passed for us at all. We've been going through it for long, just as long as them, So that was like bias and controversy going on. Yeah. A lot of people were not happy.
Malcolm X,
like they were happy for them, but happy that it happened to them that fast, and it didn't happen for us that fast.
Well, I mean, it wasn't
years.
It was. I mean, I say I didn't wait, but at the same time, it wasn't faster. It did go kind of quicker.
It was like
years have gone by. People who have died, probably like 100,000 people, probably like in just a. I don't know. I don't even think they probably haven't hit 1,000. But in general, for them to get that type of support, like, and I ain't even see nobody on social media talking about it. Everybody was for it.
During COVID.
But that was the more of those people, the people that was more Trump supporters that was saying that because Trump was out here calling it Chinese. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Anybody that wasn't really supportive of it, you really, like I said, you didn't really
But
hear it.
listen now. It started off from that, and then it branched off into the shooting.
Yeah.
And then boom, passed the law. We done been through years, lynchings, killings, murder.
The lynching is now illegal in all states now.
Yeah,
Like it's still legal. Like how is lynching still legal in states? And that's been how long? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
that's why
that kind of because y'all kind of led me to my next question I have. I could like add on to that. Cause like y'all, I don't know what it is. Y'all just kind of just asking questions for me that I wrote down. But so that leads to my other question I have is like, what communication strategies did I rephrase it? What communication strategies do people use today for social movements? So like you just brought up, like one of y'all brought up about like the Asians with the whole Stop Asian Hate thing and how they kind of put that out there. So like, what strategies do you think they use to like make sure?
We record. We show you the raw.
I think it was like you was like imageries like
look, that was another question I had too. My next question was basically because referencing the book we had Black Feelings. It was basically actually saying like how Martin Luther King used. I take that back, not Black Feelings. I'm sorry. It was Martin Luther King's 1960 Birmingham as Image Event campaign.
Yeah.
Basically, in that one, it was just basically just talking about how he used the imagery as a way to let the people of the unknown, basically.
Yeah.
And like you said, they just said it. And we make sure we take pictures. We make sure we record now today's in world of technology because, like I said, that's the next thing we can get. We can catch you on camera. There's no way you can lie and say we never did it. And that's how years before we never had a chance to actually get it on camera. So many things were happening. You know what I'm saying? Some people were dying left, Black people dying left and right. It was like we didn't have that technology to record it. You know what I'm saying? So like now, like I said, modern day age, like we got so much technology, tablets, iPhones, you can send stuff in a matter of seconds and stuff like that. Say screenshots, everything. So people could try to get away as much as they can, but it always comes back to how advanced technology is today.
And honestly,
a big difference in showing like how much it happens.
Yeah. And honestly, with that, you can honestly hit them what really hurts the most, which is their money. Because with like more social media exposure, it's like, okay, now we're gonna stop supporting y'all because we make up a lot of like the market. We do. A lot of people do get a lot of money off of like
or the snitches.
Like, some people buying the product and stuff like that. And it, like 1 minute, like somebody exposed, like say somebody exposed Target for being racist. Oh, everybody's done supporting. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah,
So,
but they have a lot of
I'm sorry.
Oh, you have a lot of people like universities and stuff and trying to get them fired or get them expelled from school, like really taking them accountable of the actions that they have done.
Okay. But I guess on the Miles, you want to ask your other question you have?
Basically trying to piggyback off of what was it that we had read. I think it was the last little essay thing we had to read was the rhetoric of social media movements, and I was just basically ask them, how do you feel if social media was advanced back in their time? How do you feel they would have used social media to their advantage?
I don't think it would be. I don't think it would be in
because I think it was hard for. I feel like that's why it was a big deal when the white people from the North came down with Luther King to march with him.
Yeah.
Because they didn't know, like you said, they didn't know about nothing. Like, they didn't know what was really going on. A long time ago.
I feel like the people, like, okay, so we're just saying, like, those people had that technology, that mindset. Like, I feel like that some people might be scared because that is something, like, they're still deal.
No, like how like was back then.
So I still feel like it would be less than what it is now because like Depending on
It was
when,
way more
depending
people
on,
back.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But
They
no,
might be
right.
very,
Which will make which will make them do it even more. People still record. You can still be shot.
but I'm saying like,
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but the legal
all
system
that.
back then is still the same.
But
I'm saying that like, that mindset, that very brutal and like gruesome mindset of doing things and hanging.
But
It's
he's talking
still
about right.
more people were.
But
If he's talking about right now,
but regardless, they were people saw, but people saw with their own eyes.
If it's a white man's word against a black man, they're gonna take the white man's word regardless of whatever the black man saw.
So it can be like the black people can be put in jail like back then.
Yeah, for
very
just
little evidence. There can be
anything.
no evidence. They can be innocent.
But that's how. But I'm just saying,
his word over his.
So no,
well, because there would be more people, right, with that ideology back then than it is here. It wouldn't be like the support or like everybody coming forward and everybody recording.
I honestly feel like we would have the things that we was looking for by now if they had what we had back then. We would be a little further along. We would definitely not that. We would definitely be a little further along than where we are now.
At the same time, though, you would say people would see that, but let's say something happened in the South. Let's say, oh, let's go grab a black boy tonight. Let's go lynch him. Like, do that.
So
because can I say something real quick?
People are scared to record.
Yeah,
not everybody records.
Can I say something real quick?
Where you're
gonna be
Yeah, can I just want to say something as far as like because in our class we talked about like how imagery was like a strategy used to like pass basically like helps social movements. Like if people see certain images, then that will like give them certain messages about what they were like processing for. So like going back then, I guess like you said the question was like if they had social media back then you said how would it be better?
Like how I said, how would they use it to their advantage? Basically.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, honestly, because they use imagery back then, like that's what we talked about in class. Like they use pictures and imagery back then. Like if you go back and look at the images of them in Birmingham, but like police dogs were attacking children and firemen were hosing them down against the wall. I mean, that was their version of social media. So
people was already
yeah, and not to mention it's like there are pictures of, like we talk about like the lynching and stuff. I mean, there was pictures of men lynching hanging from trees back then, and they still didn't do nothing about it. So
I'm saying like I just feel like if there's more, if you're able to, some people, I just feel like that thought of like we hate them was so strong back then because people would still see it. People knew it was going, like, especially on that side, people knew it was going on. Even with the technology, you would end up gaining. It would be not as fast as what people think. Like, oh yeah, it would be progress, but I feel like.
Yeah,
I see what you're saying though. So I see what you're saying. It's like the time back then was still super racist back then anyway. So it's kind of like I don't know if it would have mattered if we had social media because the people back then, like it was the people doing it.
They were able to. I'm just saying the fact that people were able to convince others.
But I'm saying like I was just saying like that the imagery that he was talking about. Like I feel like social media would have been a lot more. Like you a lot more than see. I'm not saying it would be instant, but a lot more people would have saw it. So people in the north, they heard about it. But when you hear about something and they don't see it, they were like, oh, if there was images, but that would be in your same town. Like let's say that's what I was saying. Like they would go lynch somebody, but only people in the town know about it. White people in that town, the southern town, don't care. That's the hate. That's the southern part. The people in the north, they don't know about that. They don't know about all that. They don't see that. They ain't see that picture. They ain't hear about that. They just like, oh, we hear about those lynchings down there. Oh, that's crazy.
And now, like many of us, which is true, just because you see more of it now, it's just about the same amount as it was back then. What we're seeing now, this stuff that we're seeing has been going on. Like it's been going on forever. Like it's always been there. It's just now we got lucky and had the camera. They just needed the camera. They just needed the video. to actually like record the doings, you know.
Like
That's the only difference between
So,
now and then.
I wouldn't say it would have been radical, like, oh my God, it's gonna be fast. But I'd be like, okay, they would have been like, man,
People would have been more aware.
Everywhere. Like, oh my, they're more aware of the situation.
Yeah,
like,
because there's a lot of
actually
people
happening.
now. Some back then, they're like, wow, that happened.
Like,
Yeah,
like,
they never knew.
like,
They
people
never
wouldn't
fully
know,
understood.
like people wouldn't know, like my dad, like they didn't know that houses were getting like, they would get a cross, put it in front of their house, and burn it, and then like try to bomb their house or something. My dad saw that.
MLK's house got bombed.
Never heard about that. They weren't really knowing that. Oh, they would go in your yard, get a cross, and burn it. Like they didn't know about all that. It was just, oh, you heard about, oh, that was crazy. That could have just been a story. It's not like you see full proof. But if you saw that, like today, somebody posted that, like, oh my God, look what they're doing. Like even if the ideas were a little different, I feel like eventually, especially for the president at the time, that like the people were really trying to talk to, they were really trying to like push this, push this, push this, and they were like, well, you know, you show that to the president. The president can't sit there and be like, oh man, like can't do anything about it. Like, okay, we're seeing this, we gotta do something about this. We can't just like let this go. People are actually talking about it. But that's what I was saying. I was thinking like, oh, it's gonna be different. Like, oh, they're gonna share it. Of course, on the other side, on the South, the white people would do the same thing. They would be like, oh yeah, that N word, do. Like, it's gonna be bad on both sides. But I feel like
so basically, like what you're saying is like, I guess like it kind of went what I said. So basically, because the time was just different back then, it wouldn't really matter if we had social media.
yeah, but it just been like a little culture behind that. It's not radical, but like, okay, more awareness of what's going on.
But like I said, the ideology acknowledged that it's gonna be a process. So, you know, nobody is expecting it to happen right then. And I feel like people now are starting to just expect it here and there when it's just not gonna happen that way. And the sooner you accept that, I feel like the better off. You know, we'll kind of be. You can't really. At the end of the day, you really can't force people. Like you can, but you can't.
But at the same time, I understand.
Like it's kind of difficult.
We're younger, so it's like we haven't experienced like people who've had like 60 years of this or 80 years of this.
I'm gonna say people like my grandmas wish they had this. They wish they had this. You know what I'm saying? They wish they had it, so they can so they can really show what was going on, because they lived through all that. My grandmother lived through all that, so yeah, they wish they had stuff like we do now.
All right. I got another question. So swimming back to the contagious why things catch on. One subtopic of the book is emotions, and it's a area here to ask: does emotion boost sharing? And it basically talks about how like emotions play an effect in like sharing of information. So it says right here, sharing emotion also helps us connect. So I was gonna ask, of course, it seemed like Martin Luther King had a more bigger following than Malcolm X, but how do you feel that them using their emotion connected them to their people, like to their following in a sense? Like, how do you feel like? Trying to think
like
of a better word.
the type of emotion provoking from that.
Yeah, like how do you see like them expressing themselves like the way they are in certain words and stuff like that emotionally? Yeah, try to connect. Like, how do you feel like it helped keep the connection between him and people? Like I said, because you have Martin Luther King, he just talk. Why don't you get action on that? But like, that's what I'm gonna say.
Like, feel like uplifting and had hope. He made you feel on the right side versus like Malcolm X kind of made you feel dominant. Like, made you feel strong. Like
you can't hurt me.
Yeah, like type like we are equal. You know, this is if you try me, I'm gonna try you. But not on anger and stuff, but dominance, like the alphabet.
I mean, yeah, I feel like hope, like she said, hope, and really just like sharing and like real feel good emotions, like we're together. I feel like for humans, that's like a naturally wired thing. Gratefulness, all that. Like, so I feel like people really stand more behind that. Like King had a more following because like
a lot of people just want
more towards the okay.
They just want to be left alone. They just want to be left alone. He's like, do this and find it. Like they won't be as honest as they are right now. Like, some kind of freedom is coming.
And then you have some people that want to, I don't want to say that privilege, but they want the same privilege as others. It don't work like that.
All right. So one more. I want to say one more question. Probably like 2 or 3 more questions. So I had another question. So in Malcolm X's the ballot and the bullet,
Yeah.
ballot or the bullet. He basically discusses basically the black nationalism only means if you and I are going to the black community that we're going to live. Because as soon as we move into one of theirs, soon as you move out of black community into theirs, is mixed for a period of time, but they're gonna they're gone and you're right there by yourself again. So basically, I was just reading that because, like you said, Malcolm X always wanted uh the blacks to stick together as one overall. And no matter what, he wanted everything just to be black related. No matter black
Yeah.
businesses, black anything, you know what I'm saying? As long as it was black, then it was good. And also, there was another part in here. Basically, he was talking about the economy. And I was asked, how do you feel like if black people did branch off and had their own economy, like overall?
Yeah, because that's what I was talking about.
Like, do
earlier.
you feel like would it be successful? Would it have major issues? What if you know what I'm saying? Would it be mediocre? How do you feel?
But we get to because that's
Yeah,
what I was
like
talking
black
about.
people
It's
did
like
it.
Mhm.
You
philosophy.
talking about like black people are like different general.
You know what I'm saying? Like if black
Black
people
people
today decided like get this and like we was able to start our own economy.
Well, we did it before.
Yeah,
We
well,
can
his
do it
yeah,
again. We've already done it.
his philosophy like
It would
he
be
was saying.
success. It would be hard to where I'm saying we would build an economy based from our standpoint now, like how we are already affected by the system now, like by our government.
Let me take that back. What if we started like say after Malcolm X had said that? What if we decided like we started with one then? You know what I'm saying? It was able if it was able to without it being such a problem or anything like that.
I think a lot of people on the same page, okay? Like you're a farmer, all you're gonna have to do is you provide the eggs. A lot of people wouldn't have a choice, but they would have to branch into like, okay, well, I'd rather do this. Like this is what I need to do to help me do it. Right from the beginning, like from the bottom. There's things you don't want to do, but you have to do to have like that like freeness and like that privilege to do whatever you want to do and make money at the top. Like now we can get you.
I feel like it's difficult if we still try to obtain that in like America. That we would still like get on the like get on boat and move somewhere else. Then yes, we would be able to do more of what we wanted to do because.
But even then in America, we all like honestly, we were all like if every minority was on the same page, it would greatly affect the majority. But I'm saying everybody would have to
as black people as a whole,
So so can you ask the question one more time?
But
Basically, I was asking, what's the name? I was asking how do you feel with the economy for Malcolm X, if we would have branched off and had our own economy, I think Malcolm X mentioned about black people having their own stuff, would you think it'd be successful or like I said, it would be mediocre, what problems would it have and things like that nature?
I mean, like when y'all just said it, we did it before. So, you know, it was successful back then. Probably more so because we have a choice, honestly, because nobody was gonna help us. So we kind of had to do it. So, I say if we did that, I mean, I would say it would be successful. So, because everybody else does it, and I don't see why we can't do it either.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because I feel like we would have to like his whole philosophy though. Like his whole thing was politically all black people. So black people, we have our own black political government.
But it would change though.
Yeah.
His philosophy had that's subject to change anyway. Like
But I'm saying like there's someone who's a black like his idea of what that was. Like he was like we shouldn't that's what I was saying earlier.
If our population it would be very
wasn't brought over here.
True. But then again,
people,
they don't really like they kind of look at us kind of weird, which is interesting.
Yeah, they do.
They don't.
I know they do. They kind of like broke us off now. But
Aw.
you know what?
I feel like it'd be interesting.
Like
It's
not
kind of hard.
African.
There's not a lot of black-owned businesses that on the corporate level, or like
Yeah.
which one day I hope it gets there. You see
That's
Kanye,
all right.
people like that already getting like really into the billionaire stuff like that. But hopefully one day, we can get more black-owned businesses up there. It's where
Or young.
I mean, yeah,
Young, but
I don't know how that would go, especially in capitalism. I don't know how it would go.
if I say if I in the population, we were only marrying, like popping out, babies, then it's very beneficial because then we're just slowly. I don't want to say we feed it each other as growing, but that's only if we. Everybody's like, hey, just want to marry a black person.
I don't know. It'd be kind of interesting. It'd be. I don't know how it would work.
I feel like it'd be colorful.
All right, this is the last question that I have. This is stemming from one of our course readings, Reimaging Intersectional Democracy from Black Feminism to #activism. Basically, it discusses, like I said, Black feminism, but the main part I want to pull from is the #activism. I could, in today's age with Twitter and stuff like that, hashtags is what really helps get the word out to people. So my question to y'all was, what would y'all think Malcolm X and Dr. King's hashtag would be? Yeah, like
Well, I mean, can I start? I mean, okay, this might be obvious, but Dr. King's would be "I Have a Dream," and then Malcolm X would be "By Any Means Necessary."
Yeah. That's it. That's the hashtag.
Yeah.
I have a dream. Hashtag one day.
Right.
Dang.
Look, Malcolm X hashtag right for now.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
For sure.
They seem very simple.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say they're wrong, but
Yeah.
Well, I thought that was the last question. We got time for one more question. So my next question was, chill out, man. Chill. How did people feel? This is coming from the Contagious Martin Sketchon book. Why? So practical value is basically it discussed how like it says news you can use, and how do you feel that the people following them were able to use like the information that they were receiving from them to kind of like I guess help their lifestyles in a way. Like I said, with the peaceful side coming from Martin Luther King, you probably have people probably trying to be more on the peaceful side when it comes to a lot of things, versus when you have people on Malcolm X side, they probably be a little bit more, I don't know, on the edge in a sense because of the interviews and stuff like that. So
are you asking how people act?
yeah, like it says news you can use. That's what the same practical values is. So how I'm saying like them listening to Dr. King or Malcolm X, how Malcolm X talked about Black nationalism and stuff like that, how did that start to like help them like I said, shape their views and also like help them tell other people and stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel like for the Malcolm X side, it's probably this. They were like, okay, so kind of f these white people. It's like
We're gonna
not messing with you no more.
We're gonna feed off potential hatred or like potential dislike that. Well, yeah. When they talked about when they Malcolm X, they fed off of their dislike of white people. Martin, as in, MLK, he didn't feed off of that from people's like, well, let's like look at the broader side. There's, let's think, let's look for the light in the tunnel. You know what I'm saying? Let's not just, just charge through everybody trying to let's find our own way to get there.
Allies.
You know what I'm saying? We can get there without use brute force.
Just leave the future.
Because I feel like he just wanted to minimize the killing. You know what I'm saying?
Talking about Dr. King.
Yeah, he wanted to minimize life scenes. But people did lose their life, protesting.
I will say on a different viewpoint, like the way of like how we came off, I feel like you were a lot more submissive with, Dr. King's version versus probably, like I said, a lot more like skin to the ground. major conflict. I would say like, we had to be shady. We everybody put on their little white voice. Everybody, we still to this day kind of conform to make them feel good because we're in that submissive of like.
I feel like that's
And then,
following you only because like I've been to like the African Museum back in Atlanta, and they have like this section where like you put your hand and you sit. It's like you're at a bar, and like you basically can hear like stuff being thrown, like black people stuff thrown white people in like the diner, but they can retaliate. That's scary. It was so scary, and it's scary even retaliating as well. Like it's just
yeah,
scary.
but then now it's violence against crime. They really want you to retaliate.
Yeah, I feel like King just really stood for the moral standpoint of I'm not saying we're more better than you, which the word. Like, we're gonna morally be here. Like we're not gonna go to that level because we're above that. But we're trying to way here without doing nothing y'all ever done to us.
But now we're all pretty sure that he probably had moments to himself, to his wife, that he was serious. Because they did bomb his house. They bombed his house. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure he had moments, but he wanted to set the example. You know what I'm saying?
Well, guys, that was a nice podcast. We made it to the end. I would like to thank everybody for viewing this. Man. Maybe we do this more often. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate you having Keon, man. He came to me last minute for the suggestion for the group work. So, I mean, might as well. We already got a good date on the last assignment.
No problem. No problem.
Well, all right, then. We're going to end this right here.